Okay, Bruce at you here again on Saturday on the weekend. Let's do YBIT and then I'll put out a GDXY. Alright, so what happened with YBIT, our little Bitcoin income fund that tracks BITO? Well, we closed out all our weeklies and we put some more weeklies on. So we're collecting money pretty well, actually, like crazy. Let me show you what happened. So BITO was down 1.75 and we actually went down 2.59. So that doesn't happen too often, but there's an example. So we closed at 1802. So we had, let me show you in the daily trade, so no synthetics. But we rolled out of the weeklies, right? So all of these first four were buy to close. So 390, 1,000, 5,706. So everything was a penny except for this one was 8 cents because closer to end the money, not really that close, but these were way out. And then we put on a 25.50 for the same amount of all these that we took off, and we captured 28 cents. So all this happened on Friday. Let's take a look. So we're really the cash king here in collecting all that. No shares added. We had back on Monday, we had 1,125,000, which was up from the Friday before. We added 50 on Tuesday and haven't added any cents. So nothing really going on there. Let's take a look at the state of our synthetics. So no synthetics. That's the problem area for the fund, right? Because so we've got, I didn't update this, but it's real close. It's like 9.2. So we have 9.2 million if I go to holdings, or sorry, 9.5. So we're setting on a 9.5 million loss. Well, it was never going to be a gain because they chose a 36. And 36 is like $9, $10, right? We're trading at 24. So yeah, it's in the tens. I mean, so if this at closing time stayed the same, this would be like 10 something. So it might come back to 9 million, assuming we don't move up. Now we wrote 25.50s here. Let me fix that. I took all the old ones off, and so those expire the same as our synthetic. Okay, so you're seeing here, and these dates just get fixed, right? 6/14, 6/13, 6/12. So now we've had consistency here, right? So we got a 7.8 loss, an 8.8, a 9.1, a 9.5. So we're not moving up, neither is BITO. So we're winning all the weeklies, but we're way behind this really far out in price, strike price. But what did that do for us along the way? Well, when we were writing, we were collecting income, right? So even back at the end when I had predicted, you know, like a 250 plus and we got $1.37, we've been collecting a bunch of money, but there was this paper liability out there. Well, the pay the piper time is coming up, right? 6 days to expiration. So 6/21 is when this synthetic expires, so they have to roll it. I had thought maybe they would roll it on Friday, but I think that, you know, and they didn't really sell any more of these because they didn't have any more income coming in, right? So if people buy the fund, that will help. But here's so let's look at the weekly. So they got one strike price now out at 25.50 and we collected 28 cents. The problem is it's not very far out of the money, but the fund, you know, it's been in this middle of this range here. It's really not doing much. So this bull flag can fly for another month or two, or it can take off. I had been hoping and wishing for, you know, a breakout, but you know, it's going to break out when it feels like it, and it's going to break out when BTC breaks out. So it's pretty clear what it's going to take. Nobody knows the exact timing on that. So we're in a good situation where we've already collected a tiny bit, and I'll show you on holdings of the new one that will, oh, I take it back. We're down. We're a penny. We sold it for 28. All those 8,450, and it closed at 29 cents. No biggie whatsoever, right? So it's 29 cents. We had sold it for 28. It's really the synthetic, because we're collecting, and we closed at 1802, and they're saying fair value is 1794. So let's get to a little bit more on holdings, and let me make sure if there's nothing. Okay, share count, I told you that all stayed the same. All right, so weeklies, it's one strike price. Sure, I would have loved to see them ladder a little bit there, but if they went higher, they wouldn't have collected as much money, and a lot of times these fund managers want to get as much money in the door for a high-paying yield. But sometimes we get overrun. That hasn't been the problem. The BITO share price looks a lot like this. It's just in a slide, but that's also a flag on a pole that's flying in the wind that typically indicates the next direction between these parallel lines is going to be up. That's just a probability basis, right? If we get down here and touch this again, then we need to bounce. But with it being down at 20, I don't see that. What are we, 24.69? So let's take a look at the payout situation. I can give you a lot of clarity here, right? So we collected a lot of income last time. Very little in the short call, but altogether like $6. But we had this building liability. It wasn't near as bad then because we've collected more payments. And ignore this for a second. I want to take this off. This is the true state of where we are right now. So we have 285 in total income, and we have 40 cents just in short call. So technically, if you just looked at that, you'd say, well, they could pay us $1.40, no problem, right? They paid $1.37 last month. And there's carryover credit money here. The problem is this. I went from my holdings tab and I calculated this liability. And it's one thing when it's a paper liability and you're out on 7/19, but this is a 6/21 expiration. So something's got to happen. It'll ultimately be better for us to go get a 30 or a 28 where we can still get a little bit of income when we write, but we have a chance of running past it and making a ton of money on the synthetic. We would knock this down a lot if we ran up this week to like 28. This would probably drop to $6 or something, a 6 million loss. So let's look at what I did to show you. So all of a sudden I put this number here on purpose rather than linking across the page. So when we do that, I simply just add this number, right? And we go from having $2.48 to where we still have the money here. That doesn't change this. And we'll write another weekly, and if we go nowhere, now this is through 6/21, but we could do this 2 more times and run this up to 8 or 9. But the question becomes, can we get going so that we don't get a, and it doesn't matter if this goes down to 8, it's still an ugly number over here, right? It's still a 4. So I think we're still looking good for a mid $1 payout because they're winning here on the weeklies. And since we had a big one here and they paid us $1.37, but only 5 cents was earned here, and they took $1.37, right? Leaving $5.34 is sort of a reserve, knowing that they were building on that synthetic loss. Well, now that synthetic loss has got bigger, but even a loss of 6.7 is only 5.25, right? Because our share count's increasing. So these just about offset one another. So I'm thinking if we get this up over $1, we'll be in good shape. And if we get this down any, which we could knock up, just time decay is going to knock a little bit off. But if we get to 25, that means, it's not so horrible. But I'd love to see us go up to 26 or 27. It would hurt the weekly, but that's all right. We would gain more money over on the synthetic. All right, so that's where we are with YBIT. Bitcoin's got to do something. I need to check it since it trades 24 hours. Let me see what's happening on Saturday in my chart, right? 65. We really wanted to stay up in that 66 category, but we're just about there. We're 65,945. And we want to stay above 66-ish, right? So we had closed around 66 something on Friday and into Saturday. So we haven't broken down from that higher tier yet. If we go lower and confirm it and get down to 60, then I could see 56 or something. And maybe that's what it needs. Maybe it needs to go down and touch that area before it's ready to build its energy and just break on out and run to 73 or 4 and on higher, which we all expect sometime this year. So that's what I got for you. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's for fun and entertainment. Hope you were entertained. All right, see ya. Bye.